Welcome to Rick's Corner. I had a phone call interview yesterday from CY Interview about big arms and building big arms and what it was like back when you're younger, what it's like when you're older, and the pitfalls of heavy weights versus light weights and reps versus low reps. Wanted to say that when I started training back as a kid, I didn't know a whole lot about training arms. All I knew was barbell curls. And then I got a hold of dumbbells. I did dumbbell curls and alternates, of course, and concentration curls. And then triceps were basically tricep pushdowns to warm up always use that to warm up. And then maybe lying triceps, what they call skull crushers today with a straight bar, because there was no easy curl bars back then. And then I think we did tricep kickbacks with the dumbbell. Or if not that, then it would be standing overhead tricep extensions with a barbell or a dumbbell. Dumbbell worked really well. Well, I was strong, and so of course at 18 you are strong, all you guys are, and so you go heavy and you get good results. But I remember looking at my body back then, even after training for a year or two, I had size and I had thickness, but it was that soft, not soft looking, but that bloated type look. There was no definition in the arms, maybe a little vein, but that's about it, but no striations. I didn't like it. I thought, this is not a good look. It's a bulky look and it looks great in t-shirts, but outside of that I didn't care for it at all. So I switched around a bit and I tried doing different types of curls. Now I found that barbell curls weren't always the best for me because it would tweak my wrist out on a straight bar and would hurt my hands. So then they came out with the easy curl bar. That made it a whole lot better on my wrist. It didn't put the pressure on as well. I remember hanging dumbbell concentration curls were really good, and I could get it pretty heavy, maybe 55 pounds or so, and it really isolated the bicep. And then alternate dumbbell curls, one at a time, one side then the other, worked really well for putting size on my biceps. Now, as I get older, it's hard to maintain that mass, and I think for anybody over 45, 50, it is hard. And there's always these guys that do maintain mass. They're genetically gifted, and they can probably have no injuries, and they do okay. Now, on triceps, the tricep pushdowns on the cable are always the best. They're a good warm-up exercise. You can get high reps, and they pump up the tris. All right, but if you do them every workout all the time, your body gets used to it and it says, okay, give me something different. So I started trying dumbbell kickbacks, 2 of them at a time, as my first exercise of 4 sets. Boy, did I get a pump on those. And I'm not talking heavy. I'm talking maybe 30, 35 pound dumbbells. And they worked really well. Then I went to the tricep pushdowns, and then from that I did to the skull crushers, or I did actually a cable extension overhead with a little bar. Those worked well too, but you keep changing as you go along. In 1985, I want to say, I was doing decline tricep extensions with the 65 pound dumbbells, and I snapped my right tricep off. It came right off the bone. I didn't know exactly what had happened, but the thing fell out of my arm turns black. I go to the hospital, they said, oh, you just have a sprain. Well, I wasn't familiar with tears, but I knew something was odd. I could go back to the gym next day, I could only do like 5 pounds press downs. It was just odd. A week or two go by, and I finally get the x-ray back from the hospital, and I see a bone chip in the middle of my tricep. I literally I ripped the tricep off. Well, 2-3 weeks later, it's too late to reattach it. It's already atrophied, and it's not going to go anywhere. So I worked around it, and I did all the exercises I could over a period of a few years and built my triceps up around that one spot. But being that there's 3 heads, that middle head went flat, so my tricep looked flat from the side, where before it was nice and round. It's never come back since. It's never going to be round again, and that's the way it is. I have strength back and I have size on the other 2 muscles, but the middle one, nope, not there. And it's not going to be there. Now, many guys have trained biceps and ripped them. And you see like a double bicep when they rip it. It looks really high peak. Looks pretty cool, but the biceps ripped. You have to have it reattached, and it takes time to come back. So for working arms, I also did 15 sets of bis and 15 sets of tris, sometimes 20 sets of bis, 25 sets of tris. And I was in really good shape back in the 80s when I did this. And I'm sure I was overtraining. I'm almost positive I was overtraining. So when I cut back, I started to grow even better because I had that time in between to rest. 25 sets on a body part's a lot twice a week. It's just way too much. Nowadays, I go into the gym and I do 1 body part a day, so 1 body part once a week, and actually I'm making progress with it. Working arms is an individual thing. Some people gain really well from certain things, and some people don't. Now, nerve damage is another factor. I don't know how many of you have had this, but I have carpal tunnel in my hand from nerves in my wrist, but also from my neck. Because I know when I sleep on my side, and sure many of you had told me this, you sleep on your side and your arm goes numb. It's a pinched nerve in your neck, and the nerve goes down your arm, which means that it's not feeding your muscle, it's not getting the blood, and your muscle in your arm is going to shrink because of the nerve damage. This happened to Paul Orndorff. If you look at his photos, his whole right side was smaller than his left when I saw him, and it was due to nerve damage. Now, if you wait too long to get that vertebrae or whatever is that nerve relieved, the nerve damage lasts forever, and you'll never get the feeling back, you'll never get the size back. My fingers are pretty numb, and I'm going to have the surgery, but it may never come back to where it was. And it's really kind of frustrating because when you grab something, it's not really there, and it hurts. So there is nerve damage. A lot of you have told me about you have pinched nerves in your neck, in your shoulders, and over time it does take its toll on your muscle because the muscle's not going to grow. So the way to work around that is do lighter and do more reps as best you can. Now, I've been doing that lately. I've been doing arms almost every day, 3 sets only, just 3 sets. Albert Beckles told me about this. Yeah, it puts some shape into it, but I think after a week or two, it goes the other way and your arms get smaller because you've overworked them. Then I tried doing the once a week thing. It's not enough. So I went back to the twice a week, which seems plenty. And then there's a third day I throw in for just 2 sets of high reps light just to pump the blood in, and it does okay. So to retain that size and get it back is tough. I noticed a lot of guys that were bigger years ago and they're my age now, their biceps have shriveled up, their skin has got ripples in it where it's just wrinkled and old, and they've done everything they can to get it back and it doesn't come back. I don't know if it's their diet, I don't know if it's their training, I don't know what it is, but this happens as you age, and it doesn't happen to everybody. So I'm back on a vengeance now to get my arms back to where at least they look good again. They won't be like they were when I was in my 30s and 40s, but at least they'll look good for my age. So I'm experimenting with sets and reps to see what really works. I've got to add more calories because when I had pneumonia, I dropped down in weight. I lost about 8 pounds. Not that that's bad, it's actually better, lighter, but I feel a little bit better when I'm a little fuller. So if you guys have any input on the arm thing and how to get size and what works for you, I'm sure the other people on here would like to hear your workout and what you think works, and I might try it, and I might even try it myself if you have something that sounds really good. I had a machine I showed you once before that's you sit in and you have handles and you do triceps over a preacher bench like this. Well, I put my hands this way and I do skull crushers with it. That sucker works really well. And it's no strain on the shoulders or anything. Now I have shoulder injuries, so doing anything overhead I can't do now that I used to do. And maybe lying on the bench might hurt as well, so I don't even try it. Although the easy curl bar for tris was one of the best things I've ever done. So write down what you do. Tell us what you know. You know, the one-arm tricep extensions behind the head standing, those are one of the best. But those also will rip your tricep if you're not careful because they put a lot of strain on the elbow. You get those tender tennis elbows and you bang it on something around the house and oh my God, I really hurt my elbow. I'm sure all of you have been there. Bicep tears are very common. Be careful not to jerk the weight because you will rip a tendon when you do that. Take it nice and slow, work it easy. Don't overload it because those tendons will rip and then you're really doomed. So nerve damage is one thing. Bicep growth depends on your sets and your reps and how you use them. And everybody's an individual, so give or take a little bit. High reps, low reps, medium weight, light weight. Do what works for you. Experiment around. The other thing I want to say before I close is Doug Brignoli was on here once, and I listened to what he was saying, and I think he was right. I used to always do barbells, and I would do dumbbells alternate, and I'd do concentrations. Okay. I'm working the bicep 3 times. Last week I did just preacher benches on a machine, but with the easy bar through it. And I did 8 sets of maybe 20, 15, 12, 10, 8, and 8 reps. I got my best workout of my bicep on one exercise. After I finished that, I didn't need to do anything else because going to another exercise is just duplicating what I just did. The bicep works up and down. That's really all it does. And he was right. One exercise did the job. Maybe next time I'll do a different exercise. I went to triceps with the rope very cautiously and very slowly up and down and really flexed my arms. 50 pounds, 40 pounds, not a lot of weight. Got a good pump. The tricep does that one movement, and that's what makes it work. Now, years and years and years, everybody said push and pull, push and pull, push and pull. Theoretically, it's right, you push and pull, but honestly, all muscles pull, nothing pushes. When you're pressing out, it's your pec pulling in and your tricep retracting up. It's actually pulling rather than pushing. Nothing really pushes. Muscles don't push, they all pull. But when you're going in one direction, it's working the opposite pulling of the muscle. Think about how that works, because that's exactly what it is. You extend your tricep down, the tricep's pulling up. You bring your bicep up, the bicep's pulling in. It's not pushing down. So these are theories that it's just so logical, it's ridiculous. And this is how they work. That's my take on building big arms and nerve damage. Watch out for it because pinched nerves can cause you a lot of problems. see your chiropractor first, get an MRI, have the nerves looked at, have the vertebrae looked at, see if there's any sort of relief towards it. Any anti-inflammatory might work or whatever, because so many of you write to me and tell me you have this issue. So I thought I'd address it today. And thanks for watching Rick's Corner, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
It's RickDrasin.com. He is the equalizer, baby. See you next time.